Aloha, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I am super excited for today's guest. We have known each other for a while on Facebook. We talk to each other all the time. She is slowly becoming one of my favorite people on Instagram. So I want to introduce you all to Kristine Flook. Welcome to the show, Kristine.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly honored. Thank you.
I am honored to have you on. So, Kristine and Urbanize Properties, she has a boutique brokerage firm specializing in engaging with institutional investors and high net worth individuals for the purpose of building wealth through sales and acquisitions. Urbanize capitalizes on the ability to capture every very desirable and in-demand off-market assets in South Florida and additional emerging markets within the urban core neighborhoods. This specialty service gives our investors first look and sets us apart from our competition, allowing investors the ability to maximize the investment's return upon exit. Super excited. Everyone, welcome, Kristine.
Yay! Excellent. Well, thank you again for having me. Like you said, we've slowly been connected more so in the last year through social media. And obviously that's the reason why social media exists, is to connect with people that don't live near you and create opportunities. So I've been following you and Jason for a while, and I actually found out that you and I kind of have some similar backgrounds in how we got to where we are. And I'll bring that up in a minute. So like you said, I am Kristine Flook. I am located in South Florida, Miami, commercial real estate in Florida. And what Urbanize Properties is and has been around since 2015. But I've been in the real estate commercial world since 2006. Got my license in 2004 and slowly just kind of migrated towards commercial. Multifamily is, I would say, the top asset class that I do the most in real estate transactions. I've also done warehouses, office buildings, land. So those different asset types are definitely something I'm familiar with, as well as mobile home parks. So we are a boutique firm. It's basically Janet Crusette. She's the broker. And her and I have been working together since 2004. She was the one that actually encouraged me to get into real estate. And I'm like, oh, I'm in sales. I'm over here in this genre. I'm okay. No, you'd be really good at it. And so she was the one that helped me push forward in getting that. Going back to school wasn't really, exciting. But now there's no ceiling to the amount of money that you can make in real estate. So fast forward to, let's say, maybe about 7 years ago that I started investing more in real estate. And wow, it was like, oh my gosh, sell a property, you're done, you're over until you bring up your next property and nobody knows you anymore. So you have to keep, repurposing and reselling and doing all that fun stuff that I get to do to work on off-market properties. And then investing just really started happening and becoming more present. Like, what am I doing? I sold the pie to so many people and they're making so much money. And I wasn't even thinking about, investing.
Keeping a piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's talk about that. You said that you have a deep connection with me on how we started. So how did you start? How did you make that connection? And let's go from there, because it sounds like you started in you might have started in the residential and then you saw the bright light that was real estate investing. So back to you, Kristine.
Perfect. Actually, you and I go further back than before commercial real estate or even real estate. We both bartended.
Yes.
So
that's the best way to talk to people.
Yeah, the restaurant days. So when I first moved to Miami in 1999, I was hitting the streets at night because a lot of things that are here in Miami is the nightlife. And so bars, you start at 9 o'clock at night, you work till 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, you go to sleep, you're the night owl, you're the third shift. And so I was walking actually, in South Beach, And I had just applied for a job bartending at a place called Van Dyke Cafe on Lincoln Road, no longer exists. They used to play jazz in the upstairs bar. And I was doing that along with working the morning shift. So I had just interviewed, and I'm walking the streets at night, going to the nightclubs because that's when they're open, putting my application in. And I ran into the gentleman that I had just interviewed with. And he was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm out here applying for the job. So I'm out here hustling. You better hire me." And he did.
Yes.
So I started working at Van Dyke for a little while, learned my bartending skills there. But when I heard that you had done the bartending prior to commercial real estate and investing with your husband, Jason, I'm like, oh, wow, this is exciting because we both come from that.
So we both went from bartending, we both jumped into real estate, we both jumped into multifamily. So let's fast forward your journey a little bit. You spoke a little bit into bartending, which those times are amazing.
Sales, talking.
Exactly. This is where we learn the sales, where we learn the upsell, where we learn how to talk to people, and hundreds of people every single night. And then jumping into your brokerage, into commercial real estate in Florida, and then figuring out that investing was the way to go. So how did you make that leap? When did you have that aha moment that triggered you into your next step?
I've been investing in single family fix and flips for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman that I do it with, he and I used to role play together before we would start prospecting on the phone, our scripts and handling objections so we can get on the phones with the sellers. And he and I have been in the business, like I mentioned, doing the fix and flips. He's changed a little bit how the program is, but we still stay in touch. Sometimes I source acquisitions with him just because eyeballs can only go and do so much during a day. It was probably about 4 years ago that I realized, like I said, I sold the pie. I left myself out of the deal, if you would. I just thought making commission, move on, that's next. Fast forward 2019, I attended a Jake and Gino event in October, and I had actually won the ticket. And that could be a different conversation. If you want me to add to it, I will. So John Fortes is the gentleman that I won the ticket from. Great guy. He's out of Boston. He's such an amazing man. We talk frequently. He introduced me to a deal, and I became an LP in my first deal in 2019. And since then, I've been looking at different other opportunities, and recently just came on board on an opportunity in Texas. So investing has definitely got the wheel moving, and the thought process of how that all gets involved in doing that. Sourcing operators, track records, looking at them, interviewing them, all that kind of fun stuff that we get to do before we jump into a deal.
I love it. And can you make the connection between all that you've learned on the brokerage side of things and how that translates into becoming the multifamily owner operator that you want to become in the future?
That's a great question. And definitely, I'm all about the team sport, and I do believe in it. There's no way you could run and have the growth with multifamily and the scale without a team. So that is like first and foremost. The other thing that I would say is through the sourcing of properties and dealing with underwriting, those are the skill sets that I have learned along the way. Now, am I in depth in the underwriting? No, but I can definitely look at a deal, realize what it is, if it's something to present, and move forward on. I would say a lot of my skill set comes from the phone and talking to owners and prospecting, door knocking, all that kind of classic approaches, touches to get to sellers. It's basically only two things that sell real estate, no matter if you're in the peak or the valley. It's price and motivation. Mr. Seller, we just got to figure out where you're going to spend your time. So I would say a lot of just that skill set and learning how to talk to sellers as well as underwriting is probably, the key factors there.
Let's hone in on that. Let's give this audience a bit of value.
Okay.
So you're digging into how to source deals and how to really talk to sellers. So can you give my audience a few tidbits on how you source your deals and how you talk to sellers? How do you get them to sell or to use you or to know, like, and trust you?
So I'll go with a recent phone call that I did in October of last year, fast forward to January 2021. The reason why I got this owner's attention was because, and it was true, that I was working with a 1031 exchange. The owner from New York owned the properties in Tampa, over 300 units. The reason why he told me that he responded to my email was because I was a 1031 exchange. I made sure I dropped into his world, whether it was a text message, an email, a phone call, every 2 or 3 days, because he was selling these assets and it was going to be coming towards the beginning of the year that he was going to consider doing that. And I wanted to make sure I stayed in touch with him, always in his mind. So it was, hitting them up, hitting them up, hitting them up. And that's what I say to even people that I've mentioned that I've recently met is stay in touch, be in their face. It doesn't matter, because what are they going to do? Tell you no. And then of course, if they say no, then you're going to say, why are you saying no? And then if they say no again, then you're going to say, do you know somebody else that's a yes? So I think it's just that tenacious approach that I have, and follow up is very key. And as they say in most of it, that's how I get a lot of great opportunities and to be able to work with operators and such as you and Jason. And I know that you recently started with Bill. I've attended several of Bill's 7-figure flipping opportunity webinars and stuff. I've done 2, matter of fact. And so meeting with you and Jason and hanging out and trying to source acquisitions with you guys as well.
I love it. And it's all about making those relationships that turn into partnerships, right?
For
So
sure.
you
That's
mentioned
why I'm
Bill.
after you.
Yes. Yes. You mentioned Bill Allen, who was one of our mentors, mine and Jason's mentors back in our flipping and wholesaling days. Now he wants to get into large multifamily, and he has been getting into it for the past few years.
Yeah,
We
you just did it
partnered
again
up.
in June, right?
Yep. We
Yep.
partnered up and did our first event in June, and now we've launched a coaching program together, and it has been amazing. But it starts off with these conversations, right? It starts off
Correct.
with these relationship builders, and you create partnerships, whether it's with those people that you're trying to sell or trying to buy from, or whatever it is, investors, making those connections with investors. So thank you for putting those key points together. I also wanted to, because our last conversation that we had together was on brand recognition and marketing. So can you tell a little bit about how you deal or how you promote yourself as Kristine Flook, the brand?
That is a great question. And it's always like changing. I mean, as soon as you get the latest and greatest, something else is coming along and you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, look, video is something that hasn't been on the scene that much, but video is like the key thing that everybody wants to watch now. Reels are like the next thing in with Instagram. I would say, just being active and conscious about what you're putting out there and how you're connecting with people. The simplest thing could be just answering the question. If somebody puts something out there, what's more, like I put up there yesterday, what's better, mindset or tactics? And people respond, and you've got to go back and respond to them. A lot of things that I also do with Instagram, if I may point out that social media, as well as LinkedIn, is I like to send people happy birthdays and acknowledge that it's their special day and whatever that connects to, because you don't know how they're going to answer about something. And, oh my gosh, I remember visiting that city, or, oh my gosh, I remember eating at that restaurant. Or so those little things can tie you into, your network and being able to expand it. So I think there's a couple little nuggets right there that you can do just by, a short reach out, a short connection.
I love it. Again, it's making those connections, making those relationships, and turning them into partnerships.
Exactly.
Kristine, thank you so much for coming on. Before I let you go, 2 more questions. What is one actionable step that any of my listeners can take right now to get them to their goal, to get them to their next action step? What would that be?
Have a schedule. A lot of what you can do and the possibilities of what you can do during your day is by having a schedule. You realize once you kind of lay things out in time block that there's a lot more that you can get done during your day if you have a schedule.
I love it. Time blocking and scheduling. And Kristine, how can my listeners find you?
Ah, that's great. I am urbanizeproperties.com. I'm also Urbanize Properties on Facebook and on Instagram. I'm at 305-318-6366. That's the number, text message. Let's connect. Let's make some deals happen.
Let's do this. Let's make some deals happen. Kristine just dropped her number. She dropped all the places you can find her. So please connect with her. Connect with Kristine either on Instagram, Facebook, or on her website, or give her a call. So Kristine, thank you again for coming
Really,
on. It has been amazing. Thank you so very much. And to my audience, to my listeners, thank you. I am so grateful to you for listening. You have been amazing. If you love what you heard, please, please, please rate, review, subscribe, press all those buttons. It would mean the world to me. Again, have so much aloha in your day, so much love, so much peace, and bye now.